Premier League football is back on the menu. The international break has come to an end, and we are back to league play. Plus, has Paul Pogba's career come to an anticlimactic end? We'll break it down next with a special guest on the supporter section. Grab your scarves. We'll start right now. Well, welcome into the supporter section. I am Cole Carter, and this is episode 79 of the supporter section podcast. And before we get started, make sure you do drop a like for us and subscribe if you have not already. Plus, something new, we want your involvement on a new segment here on the supporter section where you can ask us a question down below in the comments on YouTube, and we will try to cover that in the next episode. It can be about soccer, kits, whatever. Just ask us anything, and we'll try to get that done in the next episode. But for today, go ahead and get ready because I have my best friend here with me, Brandon Pasnick, and our aforementioned special guest, Kyle Norton. Everyone give it up for Kyle. Welcome in, buddy. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Cole. It is just starting to get a little bit cold, a little bit crisp. Fall's coming in. Football is back, all varieties, college, NFL, the Premier League, Champions League is right around the corner. World Series baseball is about to be here. It's honestly, it's one of my favorite times of the year.
It is such a good time of the year. Brandon, how are you today, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm getting over my little raspy. I've had some seasonal allergies, so I've been very mucusy this week. Maybe that's TMI, but been hawking up some colorful stuff this week. But it's on its way out, and I'm feeling a lot better, so I'm doing all right.
Goodness me. Well, I'm glad to hear you're on the upward side of things. I want to start today with a classic. What you wearing? Kyle, I see you're rocking something red, white, and navy. Tell us about what you got.
Oh, you know it. So I'm a little bit embarrassed. I don't actually own a kit. I don't wear a lot of jerseys or kits or anything like that. I don't think they look great on me. I do have my scarf, though, and so I've got my 2019-2020 Arsenal scarf. The only time that I was ever at Emirates. This is when I was able to purchase this scarf. So come on, you Gunners, to all the I'm sure myriad of Arsenal fans that listen to this podcast in silent protest of the clear North London bias towards the worse and lesser of the two squads by Steve and Cole over here.
I always thought we did a pretty good job of being nice to
Oh,
you
of
guys.
course. No, you guys give us our due. I just had to give you a little
Starting off strong.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shots fired.
Jeez, Brandon, what are you wearing today?
It's the 2021 Atlanta United Unity kit. It's like brown, orange. It's amazing. It's a beautiful kit. I don't have any number on the back. Just plain old authentic kit. It's beautiful though.
I'm a big fan of that jersey. I do find people online calling it the bacon kit. I guess people think it reminds them of bacon with the little squiggly lines on the front, the coloring.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it a lot, actually.
Now
I'm
hungry.
rocking a 2019-20, same year as Kyle's, third-year Tottenham kit. This is one of the kind of classier ones, the collar. This was something you could have seen them wearing during the lockdown. One of my favorite kits, I got it on eBay, of all places. Pretty good cop during COVID, not going to lie. But awesome, guys. Well, good to see what you guys are wearing. I am going to get us on the next segment, the golden scarf. Goes the thing, person, team, whoever we think deserves some praise in the previous week. I'll kick us off with Portugal winning 9-0 against Luxembourg without Cristiano Ronaldo. And you might be thinking, wow, is it just right to not have Cristiano in the biggest game that they've ever won? Having him not in the lineup just seems fitting. Maybe passing the baton on to a new generation of players. I'm happy for them. Cristiano, after his big move to Saudi Arabia, hasn't quite been sitting as high as I would have had him before. He's kind of gone down the totem pole, but hey, good for Portugal. Golden scarf for me this week. Kyle, who do you have this time?
I think there's probably some concern that I might just be a blatant homer and only pick, people and things related to my club on this show. And I really want to put people at ease that, I am definitely going to give everyone a fair shake. But come on, guys. How can it not be Arsenal's 100 million pound man, right? Our absolute rock this season, the person who has given us that solid, steady presence in midfield that we needed, and banged home his first goal, right? That put us ahead of Man United. It's got to be Declan Rice. It's got to be Declan Rice.
Declan Rice. Good shout there. Brandon, who do you have?
We're going to talk about that game a little later. I actually have Nottingham Forest, just the team. They beat Chelsea 1-0 at Stamford Bridge 2 weekends ago now, without Brennan Johnson, who transferred to Tottenham. Awoniyi did not score. He had scored in 8-9 straight games in the Premier League, but he did assist the former Manchester United man Anthony Elanga. And honestly, their defense limited Chelsea to very few chances, other than the Nicholas Jackson miss, which was like an open goal, basically. I can't believe he missed it. I think it was just last week we were talking about Pochettino heaping praise on Nicholas Jackson being the next best striker in the world. It doesn't look like it so far in the Premier League. But yeah, Nottingham Forest, they get my scarf this week. They really impressed me.
I like it. I like it a lot, boys. Good start to the pod so far. We're going to kind of get things going with some in the news segments, some of the big stories that have happened since the last time we were on the supporter section, beginning with Paul Pogba and his potential doping accident. Of course, we don't know all the full story. He may not even know it. Obviously, once considered among the top midfielders in the world of soccer, Paul Pogba's career risked a premature ending after Juventus player and French international tested positive for testosterone. Italy's anti-doping agency announced the failed drug test this past Monday. The exam was carried out after Juve's game at Udinese on August 20th, and Pogba did not play in the Serie A match but was on the bench, where he typically has been recently these days. Nato Italia, the anti-doping agency, said that Pogba was suspended provisionally with immediate effect. Pending a trial and testing of a backup B sample, he risked a suspension of up to 4 years. That is a hefty suspension. If that sample does confirm the positive test, the 30-year-old Pogba could be getting a lesser ban if he cooperates with authorities. Another negative note for a player who has been bothered by injuries ever since rejoining Juventus from his Manchester United move a little more than a year ago. Ruled out of France's run to the World Cup last year due to a knee injury, and has only played in 6 Serie A matches for Juve since the start of last season. Quick thoughts from you, Brandon, on Pogba, and is he unlucky here, or do we think he was trying to recuperate by taking some illegal testosterone?
At this point, I really don't know what Paul Pogba's doing. When he was at Manchester United, he was getting advice from his own set of doctors to get surgeries and do certain things and sit out. So that he was overriding the club's wants and wishes for him in his career and his playing time, I guess. So ever since then, I was just sort of like, does he even want to play? Like, at this point, does he want to play football? He was the hottest thing. I mean, he was the most expensive player in the world when he went to Manchester United. And then it just didn't take off like that. And, I mean, ever since he went to get his surgery that was recommended by his doctors, I mean, like you just said, I think he played 6 games last year. Like, he just hasn't played any soccer. He's traveled the world. You see it on his Instagram, but he hasn't played any soccer. And I just don't think he wants to, and he probably doesn't feel the need to. So I don't know what this is. Again, going back to his doctors, is his personal doctor giving him testosterone? What is going on here that could even happen? Maybe he was trying to get back on the field, and so he thought he could take, microdosing testosterone or something. Who knows? We'll see if the full report comes out. But some part of me feels bad for him. The other part of me is just like, this is what Paul Pogba has turned into. So, not surprising.
Yeah, the story just feels like it continues to just draw out. I mean, just time after time after time. Yeah, you do think at this point, does he actually even want to have a career in football? I'm sort of leaning towards no. He's just kind of securing the bag and getting away while he can.
It's sad to see, though. It is like you think about like players who are foundational for us specifically as fans who are growing up in the era of soccer that we did and watching. And I think Paul Pogba is one of those guys that, as I started to become more aware of the worldwide game, right? You kind of watch it and had some incredible highlights. And to see a man at the end of his career like this, and I get where y'all are coming from, where this is something where it's like, yeah, does he want to play football anymore? Does this not indicate to you someone that is actively trying, right? Is trying to specifically, like, the amount of work this man has done to try to recapture a smidgen of what he showed us. I'm trying to think of the last time that, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, right? Is like the last time we saw peak Paul Pogba, right? Yeah. So like, while I empathize with the man, like, hey, if you have captured that lightning in a bottle, you've taken the world by storm. You also, like, you have to know that this is going to happen, right? Like, you can't get away with as much as you used to be able to get away with, right? Like, and maybe there was a time where people would have looked the other way for something like this, but like, that's not the culture or like the sporting culture we live in today. Like with doping, it's like taken so seriously, right? So I don't know. I just think it's sad. It makes me sad. It makes me think about, like, try to reminisce on the good memories I have of Paul Pogba, and it makes me think of a man at the end of his career who's trying to milk that last little juice out of it and not being able to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it even carries on. I think the way we think about other players too is that, the same way these move to Saudi Arabia. Are they just trying to hold on to what they can still, or is it about the money, all that stuff? Kind of same conversation to me. But I like what you both had to say. We're going to cover another big story that we've talked a little bit about in past episodes, but I think the final piece has fallen. The final domino has fallen. We're talking about Luis Rubiales, the suspended head of the Spanish Soccer Federation, finally folded under immense pressure this past Sunday and resigned 3 whole weeks after his kiss of a player on the lips overshadowed Spain's first ever Women's World Cup title. Rubiales had been at the center of a controversy that had gone far beyond Spain's borders and the world of sport after he kissed Jenny Hermoso during the globally televised awards ceremony after Spain beat England to win the title. He said, after my swift suspension by FIFA and the rest of the cases building against me, it is clear that I cannot return to my post. Rubiales said on Sunday on Twitter, or X if you roll with that now. He had already been temporarily suspended from his job by FIFA for his conduct, and after there was a disciplinary case opened, remained defiant and hostile towards those who criticized him. He had also resigned as UEFA vice president due to the reputational danger. It's just really not a good look. He still hasn't even apologized, saying, I'm going to resign, I cannot continue my work. Talking to Pierce Morgan, but my fathers, my daughters, I spoke with them and some friends very close to me, and they say to me, Luis, you now have to focus on your dignity and to continue your life, because if not, probably you're going to damage people you love and the sport you love, he told Pierce Morgan. But still no formal apologies for his actions. How this one unfolded was definitely not pretty. Kyle, your thoughts at all on what has happened between the Spain president?
Here's what upsets me about situations like this, right? Is you have a situation where you're in the wrong and you apologize for the situation itself, right? The apology is not for what you've done. The apology is for embarrassing someone else. We have a similar situation, right now that's happening in the world of college football with specifically Jeff Lebby and Art Briles. And again, all these apologies of these people in power when they do something to abuse that power. My issue is the lack of remorse that's shown, the lack of accountability, and the lack of learning, right? He's not apologizing for what he did. He is not saying, I learned this. He's not saying, hey, I am open to changing. I get why this happened. He's saying, I want to protect my dignity and my legacy. And that, hey, maybe that's a translation thing, and maybe I'm getting that wrong, right? So I don't want to say that like that's the only thing he's apologizing for. He said he's had conversations with his father and his daughters. But what this reads like to me is, again, another powerful man who exerted that power over someone else and has refused to learn their lesson and is only sorry it happened and is only sorry that he didn't get away with it. And so that's what really still rankles me about this whole situation, is I am glad this happened. I think it should have happened sooner, and I think it's frankly disappointing that how this was handled front to back.
Yeah, definitely. Brandon, you have any closing thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think, if it wasn't for the women's team basically like the whole women's team resigning, they wouldn't have had a women's team to play in the next Euros or World Cup. Like a whole generation would have been lost, and it seemed like those players were like really up for that. Like they were like, we will not play for Spain ever again. And I mean, it was mentioned here, like his rash comments, like he was rude to the media. Like he was like saying like, no, I'm not resigning. Like they don't have like something about like they couldn't not play for Spain if they were called upon, like all of these things. And then I don't know what happened in the meantime where he like changed his mind, but it must be like for his care for his family to like step down like that. I just don't know. Maybe like his family was getting threats or like I don't know what's happening in Spain. Spain and Italy are just like anomalies to me. Like the way
Right.
they handle stuff, I will never understand. But Kyle's completely right. Terrible situation, shouldn't have happened. It did happen, and this result didn't happen soon enough for my liking. Glad that it is happening. And I just really want to praise the Spain's women's team. The way they played in the World Cup was really, really amazing, and that's what should be at the forefront. How good the Spain women's team is. So that's my last piece. Just think about how good the women's team is, not about Rubiales.
It's a great point, Brandon.
Yep. Very good stuff. Thank you guys for sharing your pieces on that. Our last bit before we get to the Premier League, wrapping up things from the transfer window, all the transfer talk. Another quick discussion on something that also had some controversy surrounding it. Some of these transfers, the most prolific one being Mason Greenwood, making a move from Man United to Getafe on loan. Obviously, we know all about this one. We've seen the news. We've heard the recordings. Just another kind of horrific situation, but one that apparently has been sorted out between the parties involved. It's just so interesting to see how it's been played on the public eye. I don't know if either of you have anything to say real quick about Mason Greenwood.
I'll jump in real quick. I think this is weird for Manchester United not to cut him or sell him. It is a loan move to Getafe. I mean, I think it makes sense for another club to get him on loan as he hasn't played soccer in over a year, I think it is. So you don't know the player that you're getting. From the other side and from those that have followed the case, it just is not great. And the fact that the charges were dropped, it didn't really go through a full trial. It's not good. Manchester United didn't handle it in the best way. I don't know. I believe in like second chances, I guess, but I just don't know. The whole situation makes me feel weird. It's a bad situation just in general. Yeah, I just don't think he should ever play for Manchester United again, but I think that might happen. Like, I think he might come back from loan and play for Manchester United again at some point in this future, which would be crazy.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Kyle, do you have anything to add real quick?
Sadly enough, this appears to be the pattern, right? Is we have something horrific happen, we kind of put someone in timeout for a variable amount of time, and then we immediately start talking about, well, when are they coming back? How are they coming back? Who are they coming back for? That kind of thing. So many examples of this you could pull out of so many sports that have happened in the last, 3, 4, 5 years, right? Ultimately, I can't imagine making this decision on any level, on just a morals and ethical level, and even on a football level. Like, you're getting a player who, sure, maybe they've been keeping training and things like that, but you're getting a player who's been out of the game for so long. You're getting the media circus. You're getting the storylines, the headlines. You're bringing that in the locker room, right? You're bringing that in there as well. And so, with reputation as well, this is a guy that is going to be in your clubhouse, right? That is going to be in that room, right? And that is going to be with the rest of your team. And it doesn't just go away. It doesn't magically, we can talk about they're just going to go to work and do their jobs. And I don't know. It just seems there's no level to me to which this move makes sense. But you eventually have a sports team that is like, hey, we are going to take a shot. We'll roll the dice here, see what happens, right? I don't know how big the upside is at this point with him after an incident like this. Maybe he comes back to that form we knew him as. Maybe he doesn't. But I just think ultimately I don't understand how you get to a point in an organization where you decide to invite all of the baggage that comes with, again, a player who has not been playing and has the legal record that he does, even though the charges were dropped.
Yeah, I mean, I think the justification will always find a way out. And I think the people involved in this and the higher ups have said, he's innocent by law, he's innocent by whatever the case. That's their justification. And
yeah,
even now, he's now a player that will be training and playing with Getafe, and we'll see how it plays out in the long run if he ever makes a return to Manchester United, if he even plays English football again. All that obviously will be determined. He's still a young kid. It will be interesting to see. But some other transfer news. Galatasaray took a chance on two Tottenham players who were on the outs in Davinson Sanchez and Tanguy Ndombele. Davinson on a permanent and Ndombele on a loan. Good to get them off Tottenham's books. João Cancelo moving laterally once again from big club to big club, leaving Man City on loan once again to Barcelona, even taking a little bit of a pay cut so that he could be registered as a Barcelona player. And an interesting loan, someone leaving Barcelona and going to Brighton, Brandon. This is an interesting move. Thoughts on Ansu Fati going to Brighton?
If he wants to develop, he's now out of the Barcelona academy, which is what's called La Masia, right? The best in the world, supposedly. He's going to a club that is one of the best run clubs in the world, arguably the best, honestly, at this point. The level that they're playing at and competing at year in, year out now, it's insane. I think it's a great move for both teams. I mean, for both parties, Fati and Brighton. And De Zerbi's going to love him. He's so good. He's so dynamic. He was Barcelona's next big kid, right? Like the next big star coming out of their academy. So I'm excited to watch him in the Premier League. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, Kyle, you kind of were saying a little bit of praises for Brighton before the episode. Tell the people what you're saying about them earlier.
Yeah, I think if anybody came to me at this point and said, Kyle, which club should I support in the Premier League? And they didn't want to follow, one of the big names, I would 1,000% say Brighton. I think the style of football they're playing right now is fun. It's exciting. You get to see goals and scoring. We'll talk more about James Maddison later, but that out of this world. And the way they just develop talent, if they can continue to find young talent, push it up through their system, develop it and sell it, like that's a winning formula, right? That's a way that you can continually build on success. And so I could, as long as they keep hitting on these players, these younger players that they're developing, like they have a very bright future ahead.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see Fati go from Barcelona to Brighton. I think it'll be a good move. It's a straight loan. It's just a year long, so there's no guarantees of him being bought or anything like that. I think it's just good for his progression, probably good for some of that just mentality of getting to play a different league. I think it'll be beneficial for him and Barcelona in the long run. Romelu Lukaku going from Chelsea to Roma on loan, still one of the worst transfers in history. Some people think his move from Inter to Chelsea, he'll be joining Jose Mourinho in Italy once again. João Felix moving from Atletico to Barca on, again, another straight loan. Eric Garcia leaving Barcelona to Girona on loan. And then Sergio Ramos, a free agent, signing with Sevilla, back to his old club, getting the warm welcome and embrace of tens of thousands of fans, moving him to tears as he enters the twilight of his career. This might be the last season he plays at a high level like this. I'm sure he'll be soaking it in front of his home fans. And Leonardo Bonucci, the Juve player, the Italian international, moving from Juventus to Union Berlin on a free transfer. An interesting tidbit on this, Juve with a little bit of a string of events recently, some controversy. He's even potentially thinking about suing them, I think, for defamation because of the things they've had, I think, with financial fair play and different things behind the scenes where it kind of tarnished his value on the market, eventually leading to him going to Berlin on a free transfer. But interesting to see if that develops in anything. And then Irving Lozano, Chucky Lozano, as many people know him as, moving from Napoli to PSV, joining a couple of the other Americans that have made that move to the Dutch side, a side that I think has qualified for Champions League, or they lose to Rangers, Brandon. Can you remind me? I think
did
PSV
beat Rangers.
advanced. Yes.
They beat Rangers, yeah.
So they'll be looking for Champions League success, potentially working their way out of the group. I don't know which one they're in off the top of my head, but we'll see what they can accomplish. Well, we had match week for the Premier League right before the international break. This is our chance to break things down as we saw it, beginning with Sheffield United and Everton. The reimagined Doucouré scoring again for Everton. Cameron Archer's first start for Sheffield saw him score his first goal, and basically his second with a shot that hit the post and deflected off of Jordan Pickford's back end. And just, it's really unlucky for Everton. It feels like there's always something going on. Pickford's always giving his 100%. And to miss a save like that, for it to bounce back off him is just so unlucky. But Danjuma, the snake, answering back in the 55th minute. Pickford did remind us why he was England's number one with a last-minute double save to survive with the point. The game ended obviously 2-2. Everton will take all the points they can get this season, as well as Sheffield. But Brandon, if you had to pick a team that's happy with the point, who would it be?
I don't know. This is a tough question. I'm the one that wrote it. I think Sheffield will take it because they're not going to get the chance at many points this year. Both of these teams would have been looking for 3, especially in this game. But we previewed this game as a relegation 6-pointer, and the fact that it ended in a draw, I think, is fair. It was back and forth. It was exciting. Cameron Archer, Aston Villa Academy kid, by the way, looking really good for Sheffield. I just don't think either of these teams really have enough when it comes to the rest of the season. But when they get into like this battle, they know that. Like they know these two teams are going to be down at the bottom the whole season. So it was a really fun game to watch. But I think Sheffield United would be probably happier with the point.
Yeah, and I want to say, doesn't Everton already have an extensive list of injuries to their squad this year?
Both the teams do, but yeah, definitely Everton.
And so I think Everton now at this point, they're going to be relying more on Danjuma than they probably thought going into it. I think Calvert-Lewin's already out with a significant injury, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, interesting to see what happens with them. But both teams, I think, will be happy with the point there. Brighton, the aforementioned Brighton, beating Newcastle 3-1. Newcastle's skid continues now, suffering their third loss in a row. Came in the form of a hat trick from Evan Ferguson, the young 18-year-old Irishman who had a knack for goal by scoring a poacher's goal in the 27th minute, then a beautifully placed goal outside the 18-yard box in the 65th minute, and then again finding fortune on a deflection that win in the 70th. Great to see a young kid building some confidence against a top club. Or are they not a top club? Are we worried right now, Kyle, about Newcastle moving forward, or do they just lose to a very good team and miss their chances on this one?
Yeah, I'm starting to get worried about Newcastle. We're starting to go from slow start territory to something's fundamentally wrong here. It is interesting for me to see that they only had one change in their starting lineup, I think, because there was an injury, but I think everybody else you got to start to think, what can you do to reinvigorate this squad? What can you do to actually get yourself some positive momentum, get yourself see some balls going to the back of the net, start to build some momentum going forward. I think they'll be better for sure. I don't think they'll finish. I don't think they'll finish anywhere close to where they are at the table right now. But definitely something needs to change because we are starting to get into panic button is not being hit, but we're hovering right over it. Right, well, we've unlocked the box that's over the panic button, and we're hovering over it.
If our friend Steve was here tonight, which we wish he was, but stuff happens, he was already talking about the seat getting a little hot for Eddie Howe.
Yeah,
I mean, are we on board with that?
I mean, I'm not. I think continuity is important, but I mean, if I was a Newcastle fan, I don't know how I'd be feeling right now. I might be on the Howe out crowd.
Is there any validity to that comment, Brandon, being on the hot seat?
No chance. But I will say Champions League is right around the corner, and with an added competition of that magnitude, it might get a little hairy come December if they don't start picking up Premier League form. Now, I will say their 3 losses were to Manchester City in a 1-0 loss, Liverpool 2-1, which they should have won. They were at home. They up 1-0. Liverpool had a red card. And
Darwin
Nunez scored, a brace with in the last 10 minutes or whatever it was. Shouldn't have happened, but it did. So that's a little worrying. And then they go and get I don't want to say smacked because Newcastle had their chances against Brighton, but Isak didn't put them away. They got to win their next game. They have to, or I think it might. People might be starting to get worried. Anthony Gordon was, all the talk of the summer with the was it 20 World Cup or whatever it was with England. And he looked decent the first week, and now it's sort of like, he's missing chances.
He's their new number 10.
Yeah, I mean, there's Harvey Barnes there, but is that really the answer? People were hyping him up like crazy. I don't know, man. I think they're really good, but we will have to see. The jury's out.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I agree with you, Kyle. I think continuity, I've preached this previously on the podcast many times, that continuity is the answer. I think once you start mixing the pot too often, too much, things get really jumbled up. And I don't think Newcastle are at the stature quite yet of saying, Eddie Howe, you've just done the most miraculous thing in a year without even the significant investment, I think, to what other clubs are doing quite yet. And you still got us Champions League football. You got us to a final in the Carabao Cup or FA Cup. Regardless, you got to us to a cup final. And I think that he has already fought way above his weight class. And so for now, his first season, being in Champions Cup, I think you should give him the benefit of the doubt. Give him some time. I don't think there should be any reason for him to be on the hot seat unless they really got to a point, let's just say they lose 5 or 6 out of their first 10 or 9 games. That's in considering, and then maybe falling out of Champions League. But we'll see. As for now, I think things will be fine. But Brandon, Villa, having a rough go at it against Liverpool, just not on it for their game there. I still can't say Zabalazai's last name yet, but he scored in the first 3 minutes from a great goal. And give us the breakdown of what happened next.
Yeah, it was Villa just weren't at it on the day. It was really unfortunate. Matty Cash gave up an unfortunate own goal. I think it was a shot from Nunez off the post and deflected off of him and in. I think that's right. And then Salah, of course, found his way on the score sheet to put the game away 3-0. Villa created a couple half chances, but that's really it. They just were not on it. And I think it really could have been worse. Liverpool had a couple other chances. I was like, oof, surprised that didn't go in. So Villa really need to look at themselves. And I won't ask you about this game because we don't need to talk about it much. But it was very, very clear that Aston Villa were missing a leader on the field, and that leader is Tyrone Mings. So someone really needs to step up. Whether it's one of the new guys like Paul Torres, who didn't have his best game, or a midfielder like Douglas Luiz. I don't know. Somebody needs to step up when you're playing big games like this. That's already two top 4 teams, top 6 teams that we've lost to in really bad fashion this year. That needs to stop. So that's all I'll say.
Yeah, it is very unfortunate to have a big player like Tyrone out so early in your season, especially with such high expectations for the club within it. Getting him out early just is a big, big blow. But Liverpool's attack has been in full flow recently. Where would we kind of rank their forward line in the Premier League, looking at things, how they stand now? Kyle, would you think that they're the best at it right now with, you have Salah, we have Nunez, and we have, what's the third guy's name?
Diaz, you have Jota.
Jota.
You have all these players.
Are they the top line in the Premier League right now, Kyle?
It's tough. It's up there for sure. I think that, if you're looking at the best, you're definitely looking at Arsenal, Liverpool, City for sure. I don't know. Is as crazy as it is to say, I think not crazy, but as lame as it is to say, I think I would take Haaland and 2 people off the street versus over any top line in the Premier League. Which I think that this Liverpool top line is incredible. And I think they deserve. They're getting their flowers and they deserve them. But what my big takeaway from this game was actually their back line. They had 2 center backs that had to come in. I think because of injuries, Van Dijk, and then there's one other guy. And their back line was just so solid in this game. Like Villa could not get anything going. So I think overall this Liverpool team scares me. I think they're that top line can compete with any of them at the top of the Premier League. And if their back depth is so much that they could be missing 2 center backs and still look like a brick wall, this is a scary team.
Well, I will say Liverpool are going to be out without Van Dijk now for 4 games due to conduct, with the red card, talking to the referee the way he did. So we'll see how they survive without him. Again, it's a big leadership that you captain the team. We'll see how they do without him. But Kyle, now to the main event. This is why we have you on the podcast. We're going to recap Arsenal and Man United. Arsenal ended up dispatching Manchester United, but the game really was back and forth for a while, with Rashford showing individual brilliance, taking on 2 defenders, and placing a shot off the post and in, off of Ramsdale's gloves in the 27th minute. But not even a minute later, Arsenal put together an absolute beautiful build-up that leads to Odegaard hammering the Gunners level in the 28th minute. Just a classic Odegaard cutback pass to him. I just feel like we've seen this so many times already. Top of the box, heel slide to the right of the goal. He's really done that a couple of times I've seen. The deciding goal, though, would come up from Declan Rice in the 96th minute off a deflection. Then another goal would follow as the United defense held up the white flag, with Johnny Evans looking on as Gabriel sealed the 3-1 win. I will mention, though, that people might forget that there was a go-ahead goal for Manchester United that was taken back for a very close offsides call for Garnacho. Man United thought they had it. Again, inches can be the difference in the Premier League, and it was this time, and Arsenal came out with 3 points in total. But a big statement win for Arsenal at the end of the day, with Chelsea and Newcastle losing their games over the weekend. Is this the beginning of the Liverpool City-Arsenal race for the title? Are we buying them as legit contenders? Let's start with Brandon first, and then we'll dive into how Kyle's feeling as an Arsenal fan.
I wonder. Make Kyle wait. I think Arsenal's in the mix. They haven't started as strongly as City, in my opinion, but it is Arsenal, Liverpool, and City. And I think Arsenal's better than Liverpool. So they're in it. This win's big. Again, they played better than Manchester United on the day. They deserved the win. And we talked about it. We said this is Declan Rice's game to step up, and he's sort of a ghost the whole game, if I'm being honest. Held down the midfield, but offensively didn't really do much. He was just there. And of course, the 96th minute comes around and he puts one in the back of the net from a corner. That was sort of fun to see, I can't lie. Good for him. They're good, man. They're good, man. And Kyle previewed it. Maybe Declan Rice is that missing piece in the midfield. Maybe he is. So we'll see going forward, but I think this is the start of the race.
Kyle, I'll let you finally answer the question. Are you guys real title contenders this season?
We are. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think this is our year. I don't. I do not think this is our year. I think next year, is our year. But I think this year, what I went into with expectations was, hey, listen, last year we looked ahead of schedule. The hard thing with a team that looks ahead of schedule is regression comes for us all, right? So I tried to temper my expectations, said, hey, the goal this year is to be playing in the frickin' Champions League for the first time in years and to go far in that competition. And I can talk about that later, but that I think we're set up for a good run. Now, thinking about the title race, when I was trying to formulate my thoughts about this, I was thinking to myself, we got 10 out of 12 points, right? First 4 games of the season, right? That is an incredible feat for any club, right? And if we somehow were in a hypothetical universe in which Man City all of a sudden ceased to exist, right, we would be talking about how wide open the Premier League is this year. We'd be talking about, oh my God, Arsenal and Tottenham are at the top. That North London has never met more. There's so many teams that can challenge. 1 through 7 is all teams that can challenge at the top. We are not competing against each other. We are competing against perfection. Mm-hmm. Perfection all the way down the line, right? The style of football they play, to the team, to the manager, to everything else. So you do not have to beat the best. You have to beat perfect. So that is the only reason that I am sitting here oh man, we could have, why are we 10 points out of 12? Can we really win the league at that point? The reason we're sitting here doing this is because of how dominant City have been. And I honestly, I think that's a bit of a bummer. I think it makes it a little bit less fun. honestly. But that's, I think, a completely separate discussion. Are we going to be in the race the whole year? Yes. Are we going to lose it in heartbreaking fashion? Yes. Am I going to convince myself by the end of the year that we can win it? Of course, guys. Of course. That's what happens. I put my walls up. I guard my heart until the very end of the season, and all of a sudden I go, well, maybe I could hope a little bit, and then it gets stomped on. And that's how life goes. That's how all my teams go. So I will say, yes, we're in it. This game specifically. So what I'm going to say here is this was a crazy day for VAR, right? Not only did we have this offsides, which y'all go back and watch Big Gabby when he is trying to set that line, because big dude, right? Imposing center back, twinkle toes, absolute ballerina, like gets back and standing, like he's like arching his back to like be behind the streaking Fernandez at that point as well. Like he saw Saliba lay off and in a split second oriented his body so that line would be drawn right there and the dude would be offsides. My metric for is this a good thing or not is if I would be mad about it if it happened to me, and I would 1,000%. But here's the thing. By the letter of the law, that is offsides. Is it crazy that we are looking at a literal almost inch to be offsides? Yes, I think it's ridiculous. But by the letter of the law, that's offsides. Here's the other thing we didn't mention. Kai Havertz got a penalty earlier in this game, and VAR said it was not a penalty. So here, that's the reason that I'm like, all right, this is not a thing where we got bailed out on a technicality. We won this game, right? We had a break our way that got shot down. They had a break their way that got shut down. I know those things aren't exactly equal, but that's kind of how I'm rationalizing it. And the thing that I've said about this Arsenal team this year and last year is that we have absolutely no quit in us. Is we get down and we go up and we win games. Now, I would love it if just once we could be winning the entire game. But hey, that's not what we do. We give up a goal in the first minute. And then we go score 3, right? But yeah, so that's just, I guess, kind of my thoughts on the title chase and the game as a whole. And then one other thing I just wanted to say quickly is Kai Havertz, man. I see it. I see the player he could be, right? I see what Arteta sees in him. And I just think he needs to see one ball go in the goal. I think that's it. Is he gets one and it's just going to be night and day. But he just right now I watch a person play that has no confidence. That makes passes back, that instead of taking a chance and trying to push the ball forward, that is content to play the ball to his teammates and sit back and things like that. And so, again, like I think he has been better on defense than I thought he would be, and Rice has been better on offense than I thought he would be. But like I need something more out of Kai. I really do. And I just think maybe against Everton, we can get him a nice easy opportunity where he can put one into the back of the net and he can start feeling himself, and we can stop saying that he was a waste of money. But man, it's been rough to start the season.
Yeah, I think no one will argue that he doesn't have the talent. I think everyone sees his potential. It's putting it together all on the field. That's the hardest thing. And I think you see that in so many different players. I mean, even I can speak to it for Charleston on Tottenham. It's like, he's capable. Even today he came out and he said, like, now he's seeing a psychologist that just, like, something is going on mentally that's blocking him from succeeding on the field. Like, he was breaking down crying in Brazil's game this week. They were beating a team 4-1. He's the one that's getting pulled out early and he's not scoring. And he's emotional on the sideline because he can't do his job. So, yeah, I mean, it's not easy being on such a large stage, a big platform like this, and everyone's breathing down your neck. You look at Harry Maguire, a guy who... It's like these script writers, man. Whatever they're doing, the poor guy. He goes and plays the other night against Scotland, has an own goal, and he's already had it so hard, it's so tough, and just continues to pile on. So I think Havertz will get. I think he'll break through. I think he's a really talented player. Again, he's still young. He shows his flashes of brilliance. I think this kind of free-flowing role that he plays in is unique, and so yeah, it's not always the most free-flowing football, like creatively maybe that they're wanting to get out of him, but I think he'll be fine in the long run. And again, to finish off the Arsenal conversation, I think you guys have a really talented team. We've talked about it since last year when Tottenham and Arsenal won that race for the 4th spot in the Premier League. We saw what you guys were capable of. I think you just hadn't quite gotten there yet. Arteta was still building. The people like Martinelli were still figuring it out. You bring in Jesus. I think you guys are a complete team now, truthfully, and I think it is impossible to compete against perfection because you look at what Man City did in their last game. You look at what Haaland did. He had a freaking hat trick against Fulham.
Yep.
He makes it look so easy that all these other teams are playing perfectly. They're having to still give up 2-4 goals, whatever it is. City have played 4 games. They've scored 11 goals and have only given up 2. They already have a 9-goal differential in 4 games played. That's insane. So it's impossible to see, anybody competing directly with them. But I think there's a chance that, you guys, Liverpool, whoever will be competing. But I think last year, truthfully, was your opportunity to win the title, and I think you guys fluffed it. And that's very unfortunate the way it happened for you guys, but I'll take any chance to harass you guys for bottom
of course.
The title.
But Didn't do it, man. Didn't have the legs. Just no gas at the end of the year.
It's a long season, but no, it'll be interesting to see what you guys can do in the Champions League. Honestly,
yeah.
I don't know. Again, is that going to be your focus this season? Is it even going to be the league? Is it going to be Champions League or bust kind of deal? So it'll be interesting to see how you guys carry on the rest of the season. There's so much to go. We still have 34 games to be played in the Premier League. We'll see what happens. But yeah, as I mentioned, Man City beat Fulham 5-1 on the back of Erling Haaland. Burnley losing to Tottenham 5-2 on the back of a Son hat trick. We had 3 hat tricks in the Premier League the last time everyone went out. I think that's the first time it's happened, or it's the first time in like 40 years in the top flight. I can't remember exactly. And then Wolves lost to Crystal Palace 3-2. Brentford tying Bournemouth 2-2 as well. As the Premier League table stands going into that international break and coming out of it, Man City are first with 12 points, a perfect start to the season. Tottenham, Liverpool, and West Ham alongside Arsenal all have 10 points. But as it stands, it's Man City, Tottenham, Liverpool, West Ham, Arsenal rounding out the top 5. On the bottom, we have Burnley, Luton, and Everton. Luton and Burnley have no points out of their 3 games played each, respectively. Anyone else that's noteworthy real quick that I might be missing from you guys on the table?
I think Crystal Palace being up so high right now, they're surprising, especially under old man Roy. They sold Zaha, right, or didn't re-sign him, and Elise didn't make his move, did he? No, so he's still there. Yeah, I mean, I think...
He signed an extension.
Oh, really? He did. So, good for them. They're just that team every year that surprises everybody. It's like, at this point, I think they'll never go down. They're just like, they'll make 2 signings a summer and stay up somehow. It's like, good for Crystal Palace. So, they're in 7th right now, which is really surprising. I just saw that.
Shout out to our one Eagles fan, Jack, who he probably doesn't listen, but I know he's our one Crystal Palace Eagles fan. What are you going to say, Kyle?
This is where I get to say something nice about Tottenham. The style of football that they are playing this season is so much fun. It's so much fun to watch. And last year, Kane, obviously, top goal scorer, 30 goals, right? Son had 10, right? Nobody else had more than 5. This year, right, 6 players with a goal already, right? 3 of those already have 2 goals, right? This is a team that can score from anywhere, that scores in bunches, and that is fun to watch, right? You compare that with our style of high attacking press and wanting to put the ball in the back of the net. Boys, Derby's going to be 5-4 this year. And I don't know which way it's going to go, but it's going to be 5-4 one way or the other. So that's had to say something nice about Tottenham. Quick thoughts here. I agree. Palace is great. Their attack has been really, really solid. I have serious questions about their defense and midfield, and if they're gonna stay where they are, it's gonna be all about the attack. It's gonna be dicey. They're gonna have to dig themselves out of some holes there as well. I had one question for y'all. How do y'all talk about what's happening at Chelsea to casual fans? Like I can't. I don't know. I honestly I don't know how to talk about Chelsea. Like it's just
American fans, or
yeah, it's so much money on players and that are that are promising, that have hype, and they're just not good. Like
I don't know, man.
Everyone has seen The Simpsons, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows the intro to The Simpsons. I feel like it's Homer Simpson just kind of like moseying his way through like nuclear disaster to like hitting people with his car. Like everything is just, it just feels like a mess. But there's still somehow like people like maybe they can still be successful. Like he'll still get the job done, Homer.
Right.
But it's just like, how are they going to have it happen? You just don't know. But yeah, to start their season the way they have, there's so many question marks still. Pochettino, obviously we think he's a great coach, but these players, you have people like Mudryk who they spend so much money on, all these players to 8-year contracts. To have 4 points out of 4 games played against the opponents they've come up against has just been abysmal. And I can't describe it to anyone except just a jumbled mess. And it just feels like a whole bunch of laundry that they put in one pile and they don't know how to sort it out.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't think I would just say, hey man, just watch a podcast, watch something else. I don't even know. It's like, it's so much has happened over the last year. It's hard to even remember all of it. I mean, it's over $1 billion spent or something like that, right? Like it's absolutely,
yeah.
It's insane what they've spent.
Players coming in and out, changes in ownership, like
it's hard for even me to keep up with. So how do I even explain it to someone that doesn't understand like contract lengths? I mean, they're signing everybody to 5+ year deals, like amortization. Do I need to explain that to people? Like I can't get into all of that, but it's a mess at Chelsea, and I hope it continues to be a mess.
Hey, I love it.
It's still fascinating to me that a year ago, I think almost to the date, we had that Conte-Tuchel handshake.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's insane. Wow. That so much has happened. You've had Graham Potter come in. You've had him leave. You bring in Pochettino. All this stuff has happened since Tuchel and Conte's memorable handshake, even between the two clubs. So much has happened. It's crazy how much has happened in such a short time and how much money they spent in such a short time. Truly, truly is fascinating, and it's unprecedented to this point. So that's the thing. No one knows because it's never happened before. It's never happened in a scale like this, and it's pretty incredible. But let's move on. We're going to start to wrap things up sort of here on the podcast. We'll get to our last segments that we want to get to. Last one on the Premier League is previewing match week 5. We had Nottingham Forest taking on Burnley. These two teams faced off in August in the Carabao Cup, where Burnley did win on a 90th minute goal. Before that, they would face off in the Championship, the second division in England, if you're not familiar. The last 4 matchups there would have been a Forest not even winning. Results being 1-0, 1-1, 3-1, and 1-1. Those wins going to Burnley. So Forest haven't beaten Burnley since 2012. Brandon, who do you think has the upper hand in this one, though?
Definitely Forest. I thought they might be in the mix for that. What was it? 18th spot this year, going down. They've made some really good offseason moves. They've thinned their squad out a little bit. I think they just have a better identity than they last year. Iwanyi has been playing really, really well. So, look, I think I'm excited about this Nottingham Forest team, and I think they're way better than Burnley. Burnley was overhyped coming into the Premier League. Very, very overhyped, and they have not looked good this season at all. No one can convince me of that. So, Forest easily have the upper hand.
All right. I like it. West Ham hosting Manchester City. West Ham have not beaten City since 2015, where they won 2-1. Since then, City has won 12 games and drawn 3, with 5-0 being the largest margin of victory. Obviously, City are perfect coming into this one with 4 wins. West Ham is in 4th, though, with 3 wins and a draw. The game will be played at the London Stadium, Kyle. Any chance West Ham is going to take points from the perfect champions?
How can you not be romantic about football, right? You have a team that loses their best player, their homegrown guy, right? The heartbeat of their team, and they look better. You know, again, it's stories like this that make you love the game and that make you are drawn to it and that make you want to say, hey, like I want to root for that underdog. And man, do I love an underdog story. They're so good. More underdog stories end like Moneyball or Friday Night Lights than we want to admit. It's fun when we get the Disney ending. I don't think we're getting a Disney ending this weekend. City by a large margin.
Wow. Well, I will say West Ham, they saved my butt the other week on my You Betcha. They covered for me. I don't think they can this week, though. I think City probably has their number. I think it'll just be overrun with goals from Manchester City. I think I agree with you there, Kyle. Newcastle, they host Brentford. Brentford have yet to beat Newcastle since coming up to the Premier League. Newcastle have won 3 of the 4 with a combined score of 9-2. But we talked about earlier how Newcastle have lost 3 in a row starting this season with a tough schedule. But Brentford have looked pretty decent with 6 points thus far. Brandon, can Brentford make it 4 losses in a row for Newcastle?
I think there's a small percent chance. The game is at St. James Park. I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle put 4 past them. I think Newcastle could blow them out. But Brentford is a good team. I wouldn't put it past Brentford to get a point on the road. I'd be very, very surprised, though. I think Newcastle's going to win.
Feels like a get-right game to me.
Yeah.
Definitely something to correct course on the ship. But there's a team that's also a little bit off track right now. And the news recently, Manchester United, they're hosting Brighton. Brighton have won the last 3 meetings with a combined score of 7-1. Dating back to 2017, Man U had won 6. Brighton have won 5, and there have been no draws. So an interesting tidbit there. But Brighton feel like a beautiful team yet again this season, while Man United look like they're throwing it together and hardly getting by. Some tough losses. Ten Hag has been the news. Obviously, the Anthony story has been playing in the background, maybe in the foreground for a lot of people in their eyes. Thoughts on this one, lads?
I don't know, really. It could go either way. It really could, but it's at Old Trafford. You think Manchester United is going to have the edge. I don't think Manchester United has played that poorly so far. They are still putting it together, and now they're dealing with another off-field thing with Anthony. They just can't get away from it. But, I think Man United holds the slight edge, but Brighton's been playing better football this year so far, so it's really a toss-up.
Yeah, I think you talk about stylistic clash. First of all, what is up with the way Man U's playing this year? This sitting deep, like very defensive, build a wall, like exploit counterattacks. Like you have the roster to play, like you have the squad to play so much better. Like a team like Nottingham Forest, they need to play that defensive football because like they want to make. They don't have like they're not going to compete with top to bottom that roster. But I don't get it tactically. I think there's a good conflict of styles when you have like a very free-flowing attacking team that goes through a central player. Mistakenly, I said James Maddison. It's Evan Ferguson. That was an absolute goof on my part.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I'm going to get absolutely roasted for that in the comments. But Evan Ferguson, just an absolute wonder and can create out of seemingly nothing. When a team has a generational talent like that can get something from nothing, I tend to go that way. So I would say for me, my money's on Brighton here. I think Man U doesn't end the skid here. I think they need to change. I think the style of football they play doesn't match up against this Brighton team, and I think Ferguson continues his hot streak.
And also, I forgot to mention it too. There's also a conflict and a little bit of a skid in the team with Jadon Sancho. He's kind of being put on the bench, and maybe whenever we play on the field again, we don't know what's happening between him and Ten Hag. That's another notable story you have going on with Manchester United is the freezing out of the young star Jadon Sancho, a guy who is making more money than just about anybody, yet he is probably getting iced out there. We'll see how that one plays out over time. Well, we have reached MLS Fast 5. It's our chance to preview five fast games in the MLS coming up. We have Messi Mania coming to Atlanta. I wish I could be at this one, but I cannot. We'll get the scoring started. I'm going to predict a 2-1 victory for Atlanta United because I think sooner or later someone's got to beat Miami. I think little Messi, Thiago Almada, if he plays, big if here, if he has a chance to play, and a healthy Yorgos Giacomakis, I think they can go up against Messi Mania. We'll see what they can do. I want them to win so bad. I'm tired of seeing all of this stuff going against us. 4-0, 4-1 or 4-0 is pretty embarrassing. in the cup play. So I'm going 2-1 United on this one.
I'll go 2-1 as well. I agree with you. We're definitely giving up a goal, but I think the only way we win the game, we as an Atlanta United, is if we only give up one goal. So
Yeah.
It's going to be 2 or more to 1. So I'll go with 2-1 as well, Cole.
Right now, you can get Giakoumakis first to score the game at plus 500. I think that's cash money. Unfortunately, I think from there, it's going to go downhill. 3-1 Miami.
Fair. Honestly, I mean, I'm not upset. Houston Dynamo, they're 5th right now in the West, taking on number 1 in the West, St. Louis SC. This one's in Houston, though. Brandon.
I'll go with 2-1 Houston. They've been playing all right this year. St. Louis has to lose games at some point. They're not a perfect team. I think they will end the season at the top of the West, though. It's crazy to even think that and say that. But Houston will get a win at home.
Kyle?
St. Louis stays at the top of the table. They just had Yao Klaus come back from injury, and he scored his first goal since March. I think that without him, they were 6 points clear of the next team. This team is rolling. I don't think Houston has the juice here.
I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Again, I think for the same thing you're saying, I don't think St. Louis is a perfect team, but I do think they're really solid. I'm going to take a 1-1 draw here on this one. And then we have another El Tráfico. LAFC is sitting 3rd right now, and abysmally, LA Galaxy are 13th. I think that LA Galaxy are going to wipe the table on this one, 3-1 over the Galaxy. Kyle, what about you?
Man, LAFC feels like they're drowning right now. It just feels like they can't get things to go their way. I don't see a team. I don't see a team, an LAFC of years past here, where we have by far and away championship contention in this squad. I think their issues and their skid here continues, and I think the Galaxy steal one here, 1-0 Galaxy.
Brand, do you agree?
Very interesting. No chance. LA Galaxy is garbage, hot garbage. I mean, it would be so LA for them to show up when the lights are brightest. But I think, is it Bouanga? I think he's going to score 2. I'll say 3-0 LAFC.
3-0. FC Dallas, they're 9th right now in the West. They host Seattle Sounders. I think this one's going to be a high-scoring affair. I'm going to say it's a 3-3 draw. MLS After Dark kind of deal. Back in the day, we used to have that. I'm going to say 3-3 draw. Brandon?
FC Dallas likes to score goals and also likes to give up goals. Seattle Sounders are very good. Cole, why am I agreeing with you so much today? I will go with a 2-2 draw. There's gonna be goals in it. It's gonna be fun.
Never a good thing when all 3 of the hosts agree on something. This one's gonna be fireworks. I had a 2-2 draw written down here as well. Dallas is fighting hard for that playoff spot. They're going to come in here and they're going to be motivated. I think they're going to strike the first blow here. They're going to come out looking great. But I think Seattle has the depth to recover and tie this thing up at the end.
All right, I like it. And this is probably the premier matchup of the week, if you can say that in MLS. We have FC Cincinnati playing host to the Philadelphia Union. Cincinnati has looked amazing at times this season. They're 12-1-1 at home. I have that streak continuing. I think they'll get another win here. I think it's going to be a 2-1 win over the Union. Kyle.
Union just inviting locker house turbulence by this Kai Wagner story. Like, what is going on? Like, this guy has been such a solid, steady player for them all year, and then they're coming out and they're announcing they're not going to re-sign him at this point in the season, like during a playoff chase. It just doesn't seem like a team that's well aligned. It doesn't seem like a team that has that healthy kind of culture. I I can't back them here. 1-0 Cincinnati, and I think that this is Cincinnati does a fun thing here where they actually surpass the amount of points that they did last year, that they had total last year in this game.
Good call.
Yeah, I think FC Cincinnati will win. Brandon Vasquez hasn't really impressed me all that much this year, but I think he will come through big in this game. Knowing what Philadelphia can put up, they can be a really tough opponent. Brandon Vasquez will shine through, maybe a little bit of a Costa magic too. I'll go with a 3-1 FC Cincinnati win.
Very, very good. Well, that is our MLS Fast 5, which means our last segment is here. You betcha. This is our chance as amateur bettors, which is not saying this is betting advice, but the chance to lock in some bets that we look forward to this weekend. Brandon's going to get us started with his. Who do you have, B-Pat?
We said this could be a coin toss, and I'm going to go with the home team. Manchester United is plus 115 to beat Brighton at home. I am going to take that bet. Not super confident, but the fact Manchester United was in the positives is very rare when betting. I'm going to take them at home.
I like it. I've got Newcastle hosting Brentford at plus 340 to take a draw on Saturday. Newcastle not having the best start to their season. I think it's a good opportunity for them to get points, but also to show that Brentford is also a solid team. A draw for me at plus 340 is what I'm taking as my lock, which means our last one this week is Kyle. What do you have?
Yep, and I know probably expecting me to make the homer pick here, and I am not going to. This one's for you degenerates out there. Let's talk about player props. All right, Abdoulaye Doucouré scores first against Arsenal plus 900. Oh boy, we have had so many issues with early goals. He got an early one last week. Like, this is something where I could see us, coming out of that big win against Man United, international break, feeling ourselves, and then doing the exact dumb stuff that we do in the past, where somebody flings a pass backwards that's a little bit lazy, they capitalize on the counter and score. I think that is a bet that has a chance to pay out big for anyone that wants to take it this weekend.
Well, you heard it here first, everybody. Put in the parlay. Doucouré getting the early goal scoring first against Arsenal. And that is going to do it for us on the Supporter Section podcast today. We hope you enjoyed our time together. If you made it this far, obviously, please do leave us a like. Subscribe if you have not already. And as we mentioned, get in the comments. Ask us any questions that you want about soccer, football kits. We'll answer just about anything in the YouTube comments down below. Kyle, thank you for joining us tonight. It was such a pleasure to have you on here. I know Steve would have been a great addition. We missed him. But thank you for joining us for episode 79 of the Support Section podcast. I have been Cole Carter. He has been Brandon Patesnick, and it has been Kyle Norton. Enjoy your week, everybody. Enjoy having the Premier League back. We will see you guys in the next one. Until then, peace out. See ya. Amazing.